man, here we go again. More of this nonsense. What's up, Internet? Back again, doing another video. And I think I got my volume level set correctly this time. Not popping and not super quiet either. Alright, it is another beautiful, lovely weekend here in Seattle. It is 90 degrees and hot, and it's just been hot. I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, that's not a big deal, it's always 90 at my house. Well, it's just hot here. For here. It's not normally that hot. At the beginning of the video there, you can see I was drilling the hanging pots and going along here doing the doing a lot of the hardscape in this tank, and it realistically it's just a cloudy mess with the substrate that I'm using in this tank, and with how many tannins I got going in this tank. The tannins are just rolling deep, but we'll get to explaining that in a little bit. This tank doesn't show up too well so far because I haven't blacked out the background yet, which is going to happen fairly soon. Whenever I, tape it off and go ahead and paint it. But I want to get the rest of the plumbing done first before I do that. So you can see here I got some paper in the background so I can kind of see what the hell is going on. Yesterday I just grabbed up all those plants there from a local pond store. I got a bunch of pots for $1 a piece of random, what do you call them, bog plants and stuff. But it's coming along pretty well. I think this scape is coming in a direction that's kind of making me happy at this point. I do have a lot of lava rock in here, and then the other assorted mishmash of substrate going on. Right now, the plants that I'm putting in it is some Ludwigia in the back. I have a bunch of arrowleaf in the back, Java fern, a bunch of different kinds of Anubias. Right here, I'm planting a bunch of stargrass in this area right here, and then some Starogene repens. This tank has a ton of different plants going in it. I realized that with how much stuff I have hanging around, that I do have a lot of plants to stagger into this tank. But otherwise, I think it's going to be pretty good, especially with trimming and everything. And once I get all the systems plumbed together, that's something to look forward on the channel. I'm going to be plumbing all these systems together. I finally got the final plumbing pieces that I needed today in order to do that. But I'm still waiting on doing the other 180 before I go ahead and plumb them all together, because I want to do that 180 with the ADA soil, which is going to put a lot of ammonia into the water column, which I obviously don't want going in with my crystal shrimp. So I'm going to get that tank up and running before I slap them together, so I can do enough water changes off of that to get no ammonia reading out of that tank. The 240 is coming along pretty well after the massive trim and a bit of the rescape on the one side. Those of you that have been following can tell that the right side of the tank coming up here has not been rescaped yet. I was kind of holding back on that because like that big log there and a few other pieces are going to be going into the other 180, so I'm kind of holding back before I do that other side. Chances are I'll get probably impatient and just start tearing it apart beforehand, and then moves right into the paludarium, which you can see is still just a cloudy mess, but it's definitely getting there bit by bit by bit. I do have those hanging. I have one of the hanging pots in there right now. The other two are not in there yet, and you can see the floating plants I got just thrown in there. Those are going to be going into those pots, so they'll be up above the water. Hopefully this whole system is going to have a large canopy of growing plants above the water and coming up out of the tank, which is going to create some pretty fun issues for me over time to get lighting correct and all that kind of stuff. But I'm excited to kind of start tackling those and getting more involved in that kind of stuff. Like I said, the 240 is going real smooth. All of the plants have already started resprouting, and all these long ones that I left long are gonna have to get trimmed tonight, which is gonna happen. So that I like to stagger my trimming week by week, so that it's not just a total shock on, not necessarily the aquarium system, but a total shock on me, and start getting depressed because my tank looks like hell. So I try to do it stage by stage and not do it all in frantically all at one time. So you can see here where things are starting to sprout and regrow, especially the Ludwigia. Always want to trim the Ludwigia as much as possible once it starts going like that, because it splits off and sends more shoots out. So once you got one, you split that into two, then you split those, it's split into four, and it definitely, and from there it gets exponential and just ends up bushing out, which is what we're all looking for. A lot of the long crypts and all that stuff kind of melted, but have already started coming back to where they need to be. And this window love over here, the shrimp for some reason just love this plant now that it's out in the light. I don't know what that's about. But hey guys, we are at that point where you got to mash some buttons, the like, subscribe, comment, just go bananas and hit a bunch of buttons on your computer, and maybe you'll break your computer, but I'd laugh at that. Later.